Hello, welcome back to your podcast, or you change or you fuck off. As you can imagine, this is the first episode in English. Yeah, for those that are listening, yes, I speak English, and that's something amazing. And right now we have a guest that is like incredible. You know, guys, in this podcast, we like to talk about how suffering can improve your life, can help your life when it comes to relationship, your finances, your life, basically. And right now we have a master of suffering. That's what I like to call it. His name is Kilian Korth. If you don't run or you're not into the life of fitness or maybe just sports, Kilian Korth is a tremendous guy. He's an ultra athlete. And when I said ultra athlete, I mean, I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. He basically just ran not only one race of 200 miles. With 200 miles is, I believe, three 320 kilometers. So I mean that's a lot. He ran this in just in a single year. He ran 3 races, and not only that, but he won them. So I'm just saying this so you can imagine who we're speaking of right here, and just put in your mind that this guy Kilian, I believe he's 35 years old right now. He started running not that much ago. He's gonna tell us a little bit more about that. But he have raced with David Goggins. He had raced with Andy Glaze. So I mean, he's really an icon. The one that we have right here. So Kilian, good morning. First of all, welcome, man. This is your podcast. I don't know what if you want to introduce even more of yourself. You're completely welcome. It's really good to have you here, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me and for the kind introduction for sure. I'm 30, so a
Oh,
little less than 35,
sorry
but
about that.
no, you're good. I mean, I was excited to be in my 30s because that's when endurance athletes typically peak. So,
Mhm.
um, but yeah, you got all the other details pretty much right there. I've been running for this is year 8 of my running career. I was a swimmer for a long time, all the way through college. But yeah, the Triple Crown of 200s is a race series that's I've been kind of aiming to achieve something special at for a long time. So, this was the year that it all sort of came to fruition.
Okay. So, for you guys that are listening, the Triple Crown stands for 3 races in US: the Tahoe 200, the Bigfoot 200, and the Moab 240, which
Yeah.
is, yeah, like too many races, too many miles. So, yeah, and Kilian, I'm saying this because like normally the people who listens to this podcast, they sign up for a marathon. They asking me like, "Hey, Luis, I'm planning to run, I don't know, 10 kilometers in the next 30 days. Will I be able to do it?" He's like, "Man, obviously. I mean, there's people who like you, like no, like he's running that much in just one single year. So obviously we can." And it's really good to have you here because what we preach about this in this podcast is how the mind basically helps us to conquer like all the outside of our internal world. So but sadly right now nowadays, you know, social media has a lot of crappy content telling you like, oh, you know what, I mean, you have to be you don't have to feel pain because you came to life to enjoy it. You came to life to live it at the best. But it's like, okay, in that best, you also have to feel pain in order so you can grow. So
Yeah.
I don't know how you approach to that. For example, right now you're a tremendous icon of the running life. But not only that, I know that one of your skills, like the top skills that you have, not talking about the nutrition that you're an expert on it too, but you have a really nice mindset because I know that you have this steady pace. That's I mean, if someone looks for you on Google, what you will find is like Kilian Korth steady pace. So that's something that you can approach when you feel this pain. How do you approach the pain? How do you learn to hug it and to stay with it?
So, I think the answer to that question really kind of goes back to how my parents helped to instill those kind of ideas and resilience in people. You
Hmm.
know, I like what you said about there's something in society now where I think resilience has kind of become a bad word. Like, instead of teaching kids to be resilient, you try to teach them to avoid the types of challenges that typically make you a better person.
Hmm.
But my parents, you know, we weren't wealthy, but we also, you know, weren't necessarily struggling, but we chose to do things that involved some amount of struggle. So, like, we were big cyclists. And so, you know, the summer that I turned 8 years old, we bicycled from Fort Collins, Colorado to Seattle, Washington. It took 46 days. It was over 1,500 miles. You know, we're carrying all of our stuff on our bikes. And so, you know, there's going to be some amount of discomfort that happens on a trip like that. I remember one specific day, I think we were in Montana and it was really hot. And, you know, back then we we're using paper maps for all of our
Yeah.
navigation. And
Uh-huh.
so we, which is hard to imagine now, but,
Mm.
we were on a side, the wrong side of a river, basically on a road, and we had been planning to get to a campsite where we needed to cross a bridge, but that bridge was out. And so they let me decide as a 7 year old or 8 year old at the
Yeah.
time whether
Uh-huh.
we would keep going to the next town and stay in a hotel, or and that was a little bit longer, or whether we would turn around and double back to go get to our original campsite. And
Yeah.
as a kid, I chose to keep going, you know. And so, you know, teaching uh young people how to make those kinds of decisions, I think, is really important for establishing, you know, a resilient mindset. But now that, you know, so I think I had a good foundation as a kid, but as an adult, I've taken a lot of wisdom from, you know, ancient philosophy, particularly the Stoics.
Yes.
So I've read, you know, Marcus Aurelius, who was a Roman emperor, his book Meditations, which is basically just his personal journal that he never meant to publish, but it's very good.
Actually, I'm reading it now.
It's great. Yeah. Seneca is kind of also uh the founder of Stoicism, if you will, and he was a slave.
Hmm.
So, you know, you have these two people, like someone who's basically a god king and a slave, coming to the same conclusions about how best to live your life. And so I think that that's quite interesting. But sort of the like dichotomy between pleasure and pain, you know, I think that a lot of people have this kind of incorrect or inaccurate sense of kind of what life is really about, because if you're purely seeking pleasure or happiness, that's not going to actually get you contentment, you know? And I think ultimately contentment is where you want to end up as a person.
Yeah.
And that's going to require some amount of suffering, because if you have done these really hard things, you know that the worst parts of them become the best memories. Like, does
Yes.
that make sense? Like, not really, but that's how it actually happens. Like,
Yeah.
the harder it is, the worse it feels in the moment, to an extent, of course, the
Uh-huh.
better the memory becomes, right? So
Yeah.
you like knowing that that's true. I think that's how to kind of balance your life, as to like where you're putting your goals, what you're sort of shooting for, what you want to do.
Okay. Yeah, because it's really amazing when you find out like the capability of your body and the capability of the sense that you can feel pain, you know? Because sometimes when we start feeling pain, they taught us that, you know, at the moment that you start feeling this kind of pain, you have to run away and maybe you have to look back. But if you find your way to find your place right there in that maybe pain, I mean, you can complete like a lot of stuff, and not only that, but you can like know yourself a little bit more better, you know.
Yeah.
So and I think that's something that you've known this since you started running, because something that really amazed me is that for you guys that doesn't know, Kilian before running, he was a swimmer. He was a really good swimmer, and what I heard about in this podcast that you just made with this mixed trail running podcast that
Hmm.
was really nice is that you weren't kind living in England, but in a military U.S. school, right?
Yeah. So I lived off base in a British town, but I went to school, an American school, on a military base.
Okay, so right there, I wanted to ask, when you were there, you were kind of like 16, 17, somewhere about it?
I was actually so I lived in England from 3 to 18. So that's
Oh,
was
three.
like my whole childhood basically.
Okay, so and when you were in that school, Killian, you were kind of militarized. Like, I mean, you had to wake up at 5 in the morning. You have to work out. You have to do some of the stuff, or it was just military based, basically.
So it wasn't like a military school like that where discipline was kind of enforced in that way. I mean, that was sort of my lifestyle for a long time but mostly because of swimming, which I was swimming on a club team, a British team that
Uh,
so I mean, my lifestyle is very similar to what you just said, where I was waking up at 3:45, getting to practice and swimming for an hour and a half, going to school and then swimming for 2 hours in the afternoon, basically 5 days a week. So
yeah.
I was, you know, I basically had like no free time as a high schooler. That was like for 4 years. But my school was just like a normal American school. It just happened to be on a military base.
Okay, okay. I mean, that much of a normal waking up at 3 in the morning. I don't think that is that normal, but okay. So, and wouldn't you think that maybe that's something that helped this Kilian of now? I mean, that that build up, like waking up at because I mean, I agree with you. Swimming is like shit. I hate it. I mean, I do triathlon, but I don't like swimming. I don't wake up at 3 in the morning. I wake up at 5, but I have to go swimming for an hour, and then I see just this black line, So, and basically that's it. You're by
Yeah.
yourself, and but. I mean, that's something weird because you said that you were swimming with your team, you were in a swimming club, but here's the thing. How did you change yourself? I mean, how did you manage to be, okay, you know what? I'm in a team, I'm swimming with everybody. Then you swap to ultra running, which is isolation, not talking to anybody. I know that you don't listen that much to music. You have your own playlist that is called Just When You Need It. So, I mean, how did you make that change? I mean, to be with a lot of people in your team, then just have to be by yourself. Like, for example, I know that you go for these long runs, maybe, which is like 4 or 5 hours by yourself with no music. How do you manage to do that? And what is your mindset right there? Like your thoughts?
So that's an interesting question. I do think that there's probably less of a difference between swimming to running in that isolation kind of way than there would be from like an actual team sport, like soccer or something like that. Because swimming, even though you are in a team and there's other people in the pool training with you, like ultimately you're alone with your thoughts a lot of the time. It's like you don't even have the option for headphones, first of all. But, in hard workouts, you're getting very little time, little rest. So most of the time you're like actively swimming. And so you're alone with your thoughts, you're alone with pain, suffering, discomfort, all of those things. And so I do think it actually translated pretty smoothly to just being alone with your thoughts on the trail. And I mean, I'm still pretty burnt out of swimming, but I was way burnt out at the end of college. And when I transitioned to running, I'm like, oh, okay, so now I get to do all the same things, get all the same benefits as far as, health benefits, what it does for you mentally, endorphins, yada yada,
Mhm.
and the reward of training, really. But I get to be in beautiful places. So
Yes.
instead of looking at that black line, like you said, I'm looking at beautiful mountains or canyons in the desert and enjoying fresh air and feeling the wind and that sort of thing. And so it's like I think of my hardest weeks of training swimming in college as much harder than my hardest weeks of training for ultras. I mean, that being said, like in college, I wasn't living a lifestyle totally oriented around swimming. I was doing other college things like going to parties and stuff. So
Yeah.
that's, have not going to do anything good for your athletics, but it was still, 30 hours of time in the pool, lifting, doing other dry land exercises, whereas running is a little bit more limited just based on how impactful it is on your body.
Mhm.
And, I'm just living a lifestyle now that feels much more oriented towards the one activity as opposed to having a lot of those kind of young 18 to 22-year-old distractions.
Yes. Uh-huh. Yeah, sure. And just one quick message, and I want to ask you this in this moment because then if we go past, I'm gonna let it slip. What would you tell somebody, Killian, that is saying, "Oh no, you know what? I don't run 10 kilometers because it's bad for my knees. I mean, right here, we're like breaking all the excuses, like just the way that it needs to be done. Because right now, people have too many excuses to wake up early, to exercise. They don't go to run because it's bad for the knees. They don't go to the gym because, I don't know, they find another excuse. So, what would you tell somebody that doesn't run 5 kilometers or 10 kilometers because it's bad for the knees?
uh, it's funny to hear that kind of excuse because running is actually the only thing that humans are any good at, like physically, as opposed to the like when compared to the rest of the natural world. Like we're weak, we don't have tough skin, we're not strong, like compare ourselves physically to a tiger or a gorilla or a wolf or a moose, something like that. And we're just these little frail bags of meat unless we have
Yes.
weapons, But the one thing that we are good at is we are the single best endurance animal on the planet. We used to be persistence hunters. We used to chase down woolly mammoths until they were so exhausted that we could kill them. Like
Yes.
that's the way that we were successful in an evolutionary sense. And so the it's bad for your knees issue is like, okay, I mean, if you're overweight, everything's bad for your knees.
Yes.
So the only way to get things better for your knees is to lose weight. But it's also it just isn't true. Like, I'm not going to pretend that ultra running specifically is the healthiest activity in the world. And I've
Mhm.
kind of joked with people. I'm like, if I was just running for my health, I would have probably stopped at a half marathon or something like that.
Yeah.
But it's like, the person who's using that as an excuse, I wouldn't even know what to say to them. I am an ultra running coach, but I coach people who are super motivated, and I specifically try to weed out people who for whom would like need
Yeah.
extra accountability, just because that's not what I'm interested in. I don't know exactly how to get someone's ass off the couch, but it is just like, if if you're thinking those things, just see what people are doing. There's the oldest person to finish the Moab 240 ever was 72 years old.
72?
72. Like that's crazy. There's the guy who won the Hard Rock 100 this past year, which is one of the most competitive, famous 100 milers in the world. He's 50. Like, so there's whenever anyone, the it hurts my knees, or you go past people on trails and they're like, "Oh, I remember when I was your age." I'm like, "No, it's just like all of these things are excuses,
Yeah.
Just keep working and keep putting one foot in front of the other, both literally and metaphorically, and you will continue to improve. That is just the fact of it, and you just have to get out of that little bubble that's like, the whiny bubble."
Yeah, that's a whiny bubble. No, and you know what I do in social media, Kilian, is basically I do like this messages with no filter, like motivation, but I mean not like, oh, you have to close your eyes and you have to feel yourself. No, no, no. I mean that's bullshit to me. I mean, because the way that I changed, it was, I mean, for example, I grew up with my father. He passed away when I was 15 years old, and before that, I mean, he wasn't that much present. And then I had like these comparison issues with myself, like all like in a really, really long period of my life. I actually tried to, end my life at a certain point. And the way that I changed was saying the truth, and like with no filter. Hey, you know what? I mean, you're not doing the shit how it needs to be done. You have to change. Because when you start like consuming this content that is right now, these beliefs, these limited beliefs that they're in society right now, you start like your potential start like decreasing. And it's incredible what our bodies are capable of. And I actually, you're just showing me that. I'm actually like, we're the same age. And man, I just signed up for an ultra marathon this last week, which was
Awesome.
55 kilometers. Bro, I mean, it killed me. It was like, no, like, oh my God, how does this guy runs like 300 kilometers just in a single way? But I mean, that's incredible what our bodies are capable of. And I mean, for you that are listening this, get off of your excuses, get off of the couch. You know that we're not planning to tell you like, oh, I mean, you're capable of everything. You have to put yourself. No, no, no. I mean, it all depends in what you want in your life and if you really want it, because it's not like just desiring. Because if you desire like a lot of shit and you're in the couch, you're gonna be desiring those shit in the couch, and somebody's gonna get him. So, I mean, we have here someone that can give you this example. Kilian, something that I would like to know, if you feel comfortable answering that. What did you have to kill to become this Kilian of yours? Because, for example, me myself, right now, for example, this year I ran 21 half marathons in 21 days, raising
Oh,
funds
nice.
for a charity. Right now, the next week, I'm gonna be running 12 hours dressed as Santa, so we can gather some toys for kids. But I had to kill the Luis before me, which was the insecure one. We watched the one that was consuming all these stupid ideas on social media to become this person. What did you have to kill to become this Kilian, to be signing up for these races just in a single season, to be running that much?
That's a really good question, and thanks for sharing that. A little bit of your backstory. That's both interesting and inspiring. But yeah, I think really you just have to. I had to kill my ego, and I think that that's really what you need to do to be successful in life. Period. Is just get rid of the idea that you're. This is it. I'm just gonna say it. Get rid of the idea that like you deserve to be special. You know,
Yeah,
like and I think a lot of this just comes with a lot of that for me came with just being young. When I was like 16 through 25, probably, I thought I knew all the answers. I wanted to be a politician. That's what I was going to school for, and I was going to go change the world, and everyone was going to listen to me because I was so smart and I could make good arguments. And I'm this tough guy who's going to walk in there and change shit, right away.
yeah,
And obviously, that's not going to happen. And I think part of that is just, when you're young, you don't know what you don't know. And so I do find that that mindset is like, even when I encounter it now, if someone's, 25 or under, I'm like, this is pretty forgivable. You know what I mean? When you are just kind of in that stage of life where you think you know everything. But once, as you, start to gain wisdom as opposed to knowledge, there can be very knowledgeable young people. I don't think there's that many wise young people. You know what I mean?
yeah. I know there's that.
And once you start to gather wisdom, you realize it's like, oh, you don't deserve anything. No one deserves anything. It's all just there. The only way to achieve something, whether it's physically a physical feat, an athletic feat, or you're an artist or you want to be a business person, like the only way to achieve things is not to give up and to do better than you were before. And what that requires is I'm a writer, and there's a phrase that I think was coined by William Faulkner, who is a famous American novelist, but he said you're going to have to kill your darlings. And what he meant by that was when you're editing a book, there's going to be parts of it that you love, but that just don't work with the
Yes.
overall novel. And you're going to have to kill those darlings. And you're going to have to do that in life all the time. You're going to have to give up parts of yourself that you have previously thought were going to help you be successful because they're just not working, you know? And so like for me, like a very practical example with running was I was fully ketogenic in terms of my diet for a while, so like basically no carbs. And while I liked the way that made me feel day to day in terms of my energy level, it's like not the most optimal
Yeah.
strategy for achieving things at these races. And
Uh-huh.
so I had to change that. I was attached to this idea of myself as an idealist, when I was in college, and that needed to change for me to practically approach the world, and you're going to have to, like, the little pieces of yourself that you might cherish but that aren't working, that are maladaptive for you with whatever you're attempting to do. Those are what you're going to have to kill, and I think a lot of it just boils down to ego.
Yeah, definitely. But I don't know if sometimes it happens to you. Normally, we all have this imposter syndrome. I don't know if
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so that shit is just great, and actually is one of the dream killers. That's something that I like to say, because whenever you're trying to achieve new things, and I mean, for those of who are listening to this podcast, we're not talking about like achieve, I don't know, winning a Moab 200. I'm not talking about like, I don't know, running 21 marathons in 21 days. What I'm saying to you is like, if you want to, I don't know, aim just for I don't know, run a mile, I don't know, wake up at 5 in the morning, that's something that you have to achieve. But whenever you start achieving this type of stuff, there's these little boys back in your head telling you like, you're not enough, this is not for you. For example, when was this project that I just told you about, at the beginning I was like, man, I mean, this project is really huge. I mean, I'm becoming the first Mexican person to do that for for muscular dystrophy. So this is bigger than you. You don't deserve this. But it's like, man, I'm working my ass for this. Why should I deserve it? Then obviously I made these arrangements with me. At the end of the day, finally we got it. But how do you manage yourself with this imposter syndrome? Not only with the running, but right now, for example, you're sponsored by First Form, which is like an incredible brand. And I believe not only podcasts, but you've been offering, I don't know, maybe deals, or maybe, I don't know, something that is going on in your life. Thanks for this striving and all effort that you're putting into your running life. How do you manage this imposter syndrome in your life?
Yeah, that's a tough question. I mean, I definitely feel it, and it's all sort of new as of this year, because this is kind of the first year that, running has become a career, even though it's been a goal for a long time.
Hmm.
And so, like, for example, recently I was nominated for Free Trail, which is an international trail running organization, but Free Trail's Trail Runner of the Year. And like, my name is on this list next to all these legends
I saw that.
of the sport, which is just totally insane,
Hmm.
and immediately I'm just like, holy shit, there's no way that I should be on there.
Yeah.
So, like, how do you manage it? I don't know. Like, to be honest, it's still a learning process. I try to think about, I have some strange, or I would say idiosyncratic, like not typical philosophical underpinnings to the way that I think about a lot of this stuff. We don't have to get into it, but like, I don't believe in free will. I do think that, like, we have, um, I think that the amount of stuff in our life that's like in our control that we think of is really, really tiny. And
Yeah.
so I attempt to feel really, I guess the overwhelming feeling I have is both gratitude and this like sense of fear that now that I'm like at this place, that I will end up failing the people that believe in me. You know what I mean? So there is like a, I don't have a good a good answer for how to deal with it. Maybe
Yeah.
I'll come up with a better one. I mean, part of it is just keep doing the things I'm doing. Like, this is the first year that I've had any kind of social media attention at all. Before Moab, I had 4,500 Instagram followers, and after Moab, I'm at 52,000 almost.
Yes.
So like, huge change in my life. But I'm starting to engage more on the platform, and partly that's due to deals and that sort of thing. But I don't think at all about like, how is this going to play? It's like that I just do the things that I'm doing. It's like, this is what got me here. I'm going to continue along that path. I meditate for 10 minutes a day. I do all the same workouts I'm doing. It's like, I think if you get attention and you reach a level of success that is unfamiliar and rewarding, I think
Hmm.
the important thing is that you don't change who you are, chasing after, you know, the superficial side of what you're achieving. Does that make sense? I don't know if I'm articulating that well.
No, no, no. So basically, you're saying that, I mean, in order to for you to overcome that imposter syndrome, you have to focus on the shit that you're doing, not on the outcome. Because when you do that, when you
Yeah,
focus
yeah,
on the outcome, then you start like getting those external ideas of like, oh, you know what? I mean, you're gonna get a really good outcome from this.
yeah.
So, and
Yeah, that
actually,
makes sense.
yeah.
That's a better way to put it. And I actually, another podcast I recorded before Moab ended up being titled "Process Over Outcome," and I think that, yeah, that is kind of what I'm getting at. It's just, you just need to keep building the stacking bricks, keep training, keep doing the things that got you to be successful when you get to that point, because that's the only way to make yourself better.
Yeah. And you mentioned something that I mean, I'm just curious about that. I mean, I actually don't even have it right here, but right now that you're growing on social media, how do you feel like, because this social media thing, for example, I mean, it helped me a lot to, help people, to give message to people the way that you're just doing. Actually, for those who are listening, go to see this Kilian's Instagram. He shares too much value about workouts, about food, about alimentation, about like mindset, and he shares sometimes books on his Instagram stories. So he has really good content. But the thing here, Kilian, what I like to ask you is like, how do you manage yourself right now creating content in order for you to be like normal? Because, for example, to me, sometimes I have to, make a video about, I don't know, mindset, about running, about etc., however you want to call it. And obviously, there's sometimes this tiny head person telling me like, "Oh, you're not getting enough views. Oh, you're not getting enough likes. Oh, this video wasn't that good enough." Right now that you're dealing with this, training, nutrition, all these mindset that you're learning, how do you manage yourself with those insecurities that are out there, right there in the socials?
Yeah, that's another really good question. That actually just happened to me yesterday, where so I worked pretty hard on a reel uh, about the free trail nomination and stuff, and like normally my videos have been getting like around like kind of a minimum of like close to 20,000 views, and this one just fucking failed. It got
Yeah,
no traction at all, and I worked really hard on it. And
yeah,
then I'll like not work at all on a video, and it'll get 100,000 views. So it doesn't make any sense to me as
yeah,
far as that goes. But I woke up, so today I'm going to post is going to talk about that a little bit, and so my techniques for kind of dealing with this for the first 2 hours of my day. All I do with my phone is it wakes me up. It's my alarm. So I don't look at Instagram or anything like texts, email for the first 2 hours of the day. That is my time. And then the last 2 hours of my day is the same. So I'm done looking at my phone. I'm done answering texts after 6 p.m. typically.
uh-huh.
So I practice kind of hygiene in that way at the beginning and the end of my days. I also make sure that I go on some runs where I don't have my phone with me, and I just have a watch, and I'm just doing what I used to do, where I'm enjoying my time outside. So it's not like I'm filming something on every run that I go on. I don't want to have to interrupt my routine in that way. Um, the social media stuff at first did feel kind of overwhelming. I was like, I don't really know if I can do this. I don't know if I want this, blah, 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 imposter syndrome, garbage, all that sort of stuff. But um, now I'm more in a routine, and I have a lot of ideas for things to post. I try to post some things that are funny, some things that are informative,
Hmm.
and kind of it's all going to be genuine to me, because it's the only way to be. It's like you can't try to emulate someone else's style. But like today, I'm going to post something about how I woke up being annoyed by these two stupid problems that I have no control over, and the only solution to that is just get back to work. So
Yeah,
it's like then it'll be some gym footage and stuff like that. And so I think some of it's just being honest, and it's like, how much do I want to share about my own personal life and my routine? I don't think I've struck the balance quite right, and I think it's just going to be a continuous work in progress. But I think whatever you do, you need to allow yourself time to not be looking at social media.
yes,
So like I think it's really important. I think it's even more important than later in the day. First thing you do for the day should be all focused on you. Like I'm a big believer in rituals. I sit for the first hour of my day in my recliner. I drink 2 cups of coffee and I read a book. And then second hour of the day I walk my dog, or then I meditate, then I walk my dog, and then I get to my workout. You know what I mean? And so it's like you need to have these routines in place, and these the structure in your life, that so that you don't end up getting on social media right away and then getting that like FOMO doom scroll, like look at what all these other people are doing. I'm
yeah,
sitting here in my shitty life, blah blah blah. Because social media can do both things. You can find David Goggins or Courtney Dauwalter doing awesome stuff, and you can find yourself motivated, but you can also frame it to yourself as like, oh, look at these people, they're having such good lives, why do I have to go to work, blah blah blah, like you can get in the complaining mindset. So
Mhm.
social media is a tool. It's a really addictive tool, but you need to treat it as such. You should not treat it as like, this is my life. No, your life is reality. Your life is in the present. It is material. It is not in the cloud, and it is not digital. So I like thinking of social media as a tool as opposed to letting it take over your life. I think is probably the most important mental health advice that I could give anybody.
Yeah. Okay, so 2 hours you spend by yourself. I mean, that's incredible because right now, I mean, what I like to do, I saw this not rituals, but I mean, kind of recommendations that the first thing that you have to do in the morning is you wake up. I mean, obviously you get the alarm off, you get I don't know 5 minutes of sun time. I mean, you get that sun hitting on your face. You get I don't know a glass of water. Then after that, you get your coffee mug, like however you want to call it. But it's really hard for someone to get stick to that routine. So this, I believe, you've been doing it like for way too long now, like 2 years, 3 years, maybe, or even more. I believe, right?
Yeah, I mean, that specific routine has probably been half a decade at this point.
My God, half a decade. Okay. No, well, I mean, it's giving results. Obviously, that's something that you that you can tell, and that's incredible because uh something that I saw once. I want to share it to you, Kilian, is that I remember seeing this Scarlett Johansson in a podcast saying like, "No, I don't have Instagram," and he's like, "Why?" He's like, uh, why do I have to give a fuck about like what someone is doing in Thailand? I mean, a person that I don't really know, and basically is a girl just making herself up. It's like, I mean, why do I have to see that thing first thing in the morning? Obviously, I don't care about that. Why don't you like put yourself into, I don't know, reading a book, making meditation, giving yourself time to, hug the bed, maybe have a nice cup of coffee. And that's something really important that actually changed me, well, helped me because I closed my socials. I mean, when I started making this change, actually, Kilian, I closed my socials, right? I wasn't posting like
Hmm.
nothing for 6 months. I was just like reading. I was just like focusing on myself. And that's what brought me here, actually. Because right now, socials, like I said, I mean, since the beginning, socials right now is like all buzzed with so many unnecessary information at certain point. But yes, I mean, you can find yourself like a David Goggins, some Corden, and yeah, and something really important for you. Well, what we'd like to ask you, Kilian, is, I mean, you were in a race with David Goggins, all right? And yeah, I mean, we're not talking about here that, okay, you outrun David Goggins, you beat, no, 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 obviously not, because I mean, he's 50 something and he just finished this. But how do you, approach to this idea of being in a race with these kind of icons right there? I mean, how do you keep yourself humble with this? And even more, I mean, winning those races, how do you keep yourself humble? What is your
Um, I will just touch back on, you said you like disconnected from social media for a while too. When I first started running, I had a flip phone in
Oh,
like
really?
the late 2019s and early 2020s. So
Uh-huh.
I social media is a big part of my career now, and obviously,
Yeah.
but I totally relate to that. Just focusing on yourself for a while, I think that's really important. But honestly, I don't think about who else is in the race really. I
Mm.
just focus on myself. Like you said, it's like we talked about process over outcome, and it doesn't matter who else is in the race. Like I in Moab, I went out pretty fast, but I was just running the speed that I wanted to be running. But like my brother who's paced me at all three races this year, he was kind of making fun of me, and one of my friends was too, because he's just like, so did you just go out really fast because you knew people would go with you and then they would die? Like, did you do that on purpose? And I'm like, no,
Yeah.
I was just running the race that I was running, whatever I happened to be doing. So it's like, you know, especially in a 200, like I'm not trying to pay attention to somebody else who's competing with me, probably till mile 100. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I'm not, it's not really a race. I'm just focused on having fun and getting just running my own relaxed pace for as long as I can before I really start to get down into the grind. You know what I mean? So,
Yes.
I ran Bigfoot and Moab with David Goggins this year, and I didn't even see him one time. I didn't see him at the start line,
Hmm.
or during the race at all. And so, like, I mean, I knew he was there, and I think him being at those races kind of did me a favor because they obviously get more social media attention because he's a big name.
Yeah.
But I just it just wasn't really on the radar. I mean, I'm doing the Cocodona 250 next year, and that's the most competitive 200 miler in North America.
Hmm.
And there aren't quite as many big names as far as just social media goes, but there are a ton of super super fast runners,
Yeah.
who are more on the professional runner side than they are on kind of like the social media
Social
influencer
media.
side.
Hmm.
And they're going to do the same thing. It's like I'm excited to race against these people, but I'm not intimidated and I'm not going to think about what they're doing at all.
You touched right there a really nice point. I mean, how do you make Kilian to not feel pressure about those other challengers, about those other runners? I mean, how do you get into a competition? Because me, myself, for example, I'm really confident on myself. And yesterday you saw something really good in this podcast that is like, I'm not saying that in a cocky way, but I'm just certain about what I'm capable of. So, how do you get into a competition? I mean, talking about your mindset, saying like, you know what? I know I got this. It doesn't matter who is here. I can do this. I mean, how do you prepare for that mindset?
So part of this relates to what we talked about earlier, like what part of yourself did you have to kill to be successful?
Okay,
So part of it's, killing the ego. It's like
killing the ego.
if you're so in 2024, I ended up not finishing two 200-mile races in a row within about a
Yeah.
month of each other. Is probably the lowest point of my running career. It was awful. But I was entering those races thinking like, ooh, this could be really big for my career. I need to be here, blah, 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 like all these ego related thoughts. And entering this year, I was entering the races just thinking, okay, I'm trained well. I'm prepared for this. I know what I can do. And I'm going to focus on having fun and being relaxed. And so just that mindset shift to where like, I know that I'm going to feel pretty good for at minimum, like the first 60 miles. So I'll just cruise that. I'm going to enjoy myself. I'm going to be in a beautiful place. I will probably have some company in terms of other competitors. We'll chat. And I really just focused on having fun, and that released a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
But I mean, ultimately, the best way to get rid of pressure is to do the work beforehand. I'm a coach, and when athletes are asking me like, "Oh, I'm a little nervous for this race," if they've done the training, that's what I tell them. I'm like, just think about all the work you put in. Like, you're ready for this now you actually get to do the fun part. You get to execute. You know what I
Yes.
mean? It's like
Mhm.
this is where you're at. So that's the best way to relieve pressure. But once you have that down, I think focusing on having fun and relaxing is, uh, both physically and mentally going to just help you be successful.
Yes. No, and you have to. Well, that getting rid of the ego is really important because it had have I was in karate, back then. I was a karate guy, so I was this brown belt in karate. So I remember going to a competition. It was like a Pan Am competition, and I remember I was like, oh, you know what, I mean, I'm really good at this. I mean, I have no problems. And then I got to a fight with someone from Panama. Oh my God. I mean, he beat the shit out of me, like completely. And he was like, hey, you said that you got this. And he was like, you know what? I mean, you said that in a cocky way, not just
Yeah.
because you knew that you trained for, but I mean, you got yourself ready up. And obviously this guy was beating the shit out of me. But obviously, I mean, you have to learn sometimes with this. And Kilian, do you think that you have to feel pain in order to change? Because, you know,
I do.
sorry.
I think you have to fail in order to change. And I think you have to. So I've had experiences. I've never been involved in any kind of martial arts, so I haven't had that specific experience, but I've had similar experiences in the mountains where I've just been approaching mountains as kind of a cocky douchebag, and the mountains don't give a shit about you and they
Yeah.
will teach you lessons. Like you can't approach the mountains like that, or you and then when you do and bad things happen, you're lucky you don't die. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
I've had days where I've gotten lost and I've ended up, my planned 4 hour day turned into a 17-hour day.
My
Like
God.
I've had those types of things happen where
Uh-huh.
I'm just totally unprepared. I mean, I got myself out of it, so it ended up being fine. But that's like you getting beat up by the other karate competitor.
Yes.
It's like, oh, you get your teeth kicked in, and you're like, okay, this must change right now. You know what I mean?
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, and it's really good that you said that, because actually it's not like that happened to me this past race that I was just in. But they told me, no, you have a really good base, because I trained for this race like probably, I don't know, a month. And there was like, I don't know, I hadn't run like more than 25 kilometers since 5 years ago. Then I signed off for this race that is 55 kilometers, and I go, and my coach, he told me, you know what? I mean, it's gonna be tough, but you have a really good base because you run these 21 half marathons. So, I mean, you can do it. And I was, yeah, I can do it. Like, why not? Obviously, I got there, and like that shit that they tell you, like, you know what? I mean, you already passed the hard thing. Then you come up with this big ass mountain, and it's like, oh my God. I mean, I thought that I passed like the hard thing. When it comes to your first race of trail, right? Because I know that you signed up for a 50 miler, then you went all the way to 100 miler, you being a coach. And I mean, how do you approach to that moment that, okay, it was really tough? You know that that was tough. Then you said, like, okay, you know what? I mean, now I got to run. I have to run. Then you look up and you see that last mountain when you're like totally crashed out. I mean, your knees, they can keep up. What do you say at that moment? Like, oh my God, I mean, what did I get myself into?
I
Like,
mean, you don't have options,
uh-huh.
Like I think about this in regards to life too, and I'll kind of draw that out. But in that moment, it's like to get to where no one's coming to save you,
Yeah.
unless like in a race, they're not going to come grab you off the trail unless you have like broken ankles or a leg or you're bleeding.
Uh-huh.
So it's like no one's coming to save you. The only way out is forward, and so you need to go up and then down, and then you can be done. And so it's just like you just have to recognize that and accept it. Acceptance is a big part of, what we were talking about earlier with like contentment in life. You just need to
Uh-huh.
accept certain facts about the world. And when you're in that moment and you're looking up at a climb and you're like, gosh, Jesus, I don't want to do this. You
Yeah.
just have to accept that that's the only way to do it.
Uh,
And I actually have I'm planning to write a post about this and just calling it like the no options lifestyle. Like I
yes.
don't think of my life as having very many options. When I wake up and I don't want to run, running is just going to happen. So if I delay it, it's just going to make it crappier. It's like
Yeah.
it's going to happen, and it's going to happen to me. So I might as well get it done earlier rather than later, right? And so
Yeah.
like I have a pretty strict diet. Do I think it's not an option for me to order Domino's or eat a big plate of pasta? Like that's not going to happen. And so it's just isn't on the menu. And so like if you picture the menu of your life's decisions, I think ultimately you want it to be pretty constrained. On the wall of my gym, I have a discipline is freedom spray painted on the wall of my gym, and it really is true. It's like if you identify a goal and you just like write out the steps that would need to be made to achieve that goal, those steps are your menu. You've got
Mhm.
nothing else on the menu. You know what I mean? Like
Yes.
that's how I think about my life in general, and it makes it much easier for me from a mindset perspective to make the decisions I'm not making decisions actually. It's like not even a
Yeah,
framework that
you
makes sense.
just basically just paying attention to what you have to do.
Exactly. It's just like these things happen. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
that's sometimes how it feels. And it does require a lot of an individual. But
Yes.
once you're in that mindset and you have accepted that that's the way it is, then, you're just doing the stuff on the menu.
Yeah. And I don't know, do you know this Andrew Tate?
Yeah.
Okay. Once, I mean, I don't like, I'm not agree with like all his content, right? I mean, he like normally says some good stuff, then some bad stuff and all that. But I remember once something that he said, and I like to ask you this if you agree with it. Uh, that is, There's the fallacy of failing. Obviously, I mean, we fail. I know that you DNF 2 races. Like some of us, like always, gonna be DNF something. But he says that failing sometimes is something predictable. How? I mean, if you manage yourself to do everything at 100% every day, just like you said, your menu, I mean, it's not possible for you to fail. For example, let's say that you have this 100 miler, right? And then you train for it, I don't know, 6 months in advance. If you do all your trainings, all your diet, it's gonna be really hard for you not to finish it, right? Because I mean, you prepare yourself at 100, like with discipline. You saw your menu, you picked that because you didn't have any option, and you stuck to it. So, will you believe that's true, or sometimes you can fail even though like doing everything that is on your side?
Yeah, I actually don't really agree with that. I'm really not an Andrew Tate fan at all. I've never engaged with his content,
Hmm.
but just his legal issues have
Yes.
definitely
Yes.
made me
Definitely.
take a step
Yeah.
not eager to engage there. But anyway, even just taking that little slice of opinion, I get what the point of that is, but I actually don't really agree. Like, I think that one of the things that I've recognized with ultra running, and what I touched on this a little bit earlier, but it's just like, for a life, I don't think you control that many of the variables. I do think you could put in all the work, and I mean, you could just be driving to the grocery store and get hit by a car.
Yeah.
Like ultimately, that is that failing, kind of like, if like, let's say you have a something physical, an Ironman coming up, and you get hit by a car and you break your leg. Like, you're not going to run that Ironman, right? So there's a way in which that is failing, but it's totally outside of your control. And I think about that in relation to uh my DNFs as well. Like, part of the way that I think I successfully approached races this year was accepting that I might only, for a 200 miler, maybe I'm controlling 30% of the variables, So 70% of this crap, like, I could just step off a curb and break my ankle one day. You know what I mean?
Yes.
In Moab, the conditions were really muddy. And the whole time, even with 40 miles to go, I'm like, man, one mistake here and everything's done.
You get
It's like,
your ankle right there, and bye bye.
exactly. So it's like, I think it's more important to accept that failure is a part of the process than it is to think like, oh, if I do all of these steps, I'm not going to fail. Like, you just need to accept that failure is one of the outcomes that's possible. And I think the biggest lesson that I'm taking forward from my last few years, with a lot of failure involved, is just that failure and success aren't opposites. So succeeding is not the absence of failure.
Yes.
Failure is a part of success. That's the only way to get there.
Hmm.
And so when you just accept that that's a fact, failing becomes, it's never going to be easy. It's always going to suck, but you can reframe it in your mind as like, okay, I failed and now I get back up again. That old Chumbawamba song, I get knocked down and I get back up again. Like, that's what you have to do. It's not the getting knocked down that is a negative. It's the staying down, right?
Yeah.
And so as long as you don't give up, failure is a positive in many senses, because it gives you an opportunity to get better.
Sure. And Kilian, I would like to ask you two last questions. One of them is from a friend that is a fan of yours. Actually, he create contents for trail running, and he told me to ask you, uh, what was like the darkest point of the rush of the Triple Crown? He wanted to ask you that.
So honestly, I got lucky and I didn't have a whole bunch of lows during the races at all. I would say my kind of darkest moment was the first race at Tahoe 200 with like 40 miles to go. I was cold and I was having breathing problems, and 40 miles just felt like so many miles at that point. And I had this, like, I basically had an 18-mile climb to do that I was just like, is really struggling to motivate myself to get up that. And then after Tahoe, I had this moment. I don't think I really realized what the Triple Crown was
Yeah.
until finishing Tahoe. And then that week, it takes like 10 days to feel normal again from a sleep perspective, because I'm only sleeping 5 minutes ish during these races.
Mhm.
And so, like, after day 7 where I'm sleeping 11 hours and I'm taking a 3-hour nap during the day, I'm like, holy
Yeah.
shit, I have to do this again in 7 weeks. Like,
Wow.
what have I done to myself? So that was probably the moment where I was like, oh my God, like this is just totally insane. But you learn to embrace the process. And yeah, I kind of escaped without having too many like serious low moments, which is just I think mostly a miracle of good luck as opposed to necessarily me orienting myself for that to happen.
Yeah. Okay. No, because and yeah, you mentioned something actually in this very same podcast. You were saying that you had these breathing problems. When it comes to that, is like asthma, because I heard that you said something about like, no, if I kept going, I will have like these scars on my lungs, something like that. But I couldn't get it. That.
Yeah, so there's a couple different things there. So Tahoe specifically, it's held in June, and the trails are dusty, but in June there's tons of tree pollen, and so
Okay.
everybody gets
Yeah.
breathing problems, and we all refer to it as Tahoe lung, and so pretty much everyone who runs that race just gets an upper respiratory kind of obstructive issue where you're coughing up like yellow polleny garbage, and so it's not a serious problem in terms of your health, but it just sucks in the moment. The other issue that I've had is at the race, the Cocodona 250, and I think that I'm allergic to something in the Arizona desert that in 2023 I finished the race, but it resulted in me going to the ICU. My O2 saturation was like 72% the night after the race, which is really, really, really low.
Mhm.
Um, and so that's what I was talking about. And Cocodona was one of my DNFs in 2024 where I started having those breathing issues and I didn't let them get as serious. So two separate breathing problems, but
Okay.
yeah, related in a little in a way.
Okay. And I would like to ask you this, Killian. I believe you have a couple. You have your partner and everything. How do you manage yourself to have this relationship? Because normally there's also this stigma right there that you cannot accomplish like a lot of stuff if you have a couple, if you have a relationship. Why? Because it takes away all your focus and you cannot commit doing your shit on place, right? So how do you feel about that? How do you do it? Because I believe you guys do a really good team. So
Hmm.
how do you do it?
My first reaction is if your experience is that it takes away from whatever you're doing, then you're just in a bad relationship. um, maybe that's not true, but and I've been spectacularly lucky with my wife Susie. I mean, we started dating in high school. I met her when I was 16, and so our uh 15-year anniversary is coming up in January.
My God.
14-year anniversary, which is pretty crazy for being only 30. And I mean, when we met, it's not like she knew I was going to become an ultra runner. At that point in time, I wanted to be a politician. I was a swimmer. I was going to
Yeah.
have some like real career in air quotes.
Mhm.
But ever since I kind of made this my goal, she's just been unfailingly supportive. So, through I in 2022, I tore my hamstring at my first attempt at a 200. 2024, I have my 2 DNFs in a row, and like the only way that I got through those was because of her. So not only is she like a practical support during the races, but she knows me so well that she knows what to say to me in these moments to like pull me out of the real lows where I'm questioning my self belief, and not only questioning my self belief, but my like self worth. My identity is definitely a little too tied up in running, and it's a risk that you run. Not intended, but
Yeah.
it's a risk that you run when your identity is tied up in something related to your physical health, right? Um, and so there is a give and take, right? I do think if you're so focused on the one goal that you start to become an absentee partner in life, like that's not going to work, obviously. And so you need to relationships are work in the sense that you have to do this stuff to maintain them. You can't be a bad roommate, and just be super untidy because you're tired after a long run and you don't feel like putting stuff away. Like, no, you need to be better, and that's a work in progress for me, always to just be a better person overall. But ultimately, I think if you're with the right person, they're going to support you. And if you have a dream that fires you up and makes you get up in the morning and this is what you want your life's work to be, and for whatever reason it's like that person doesn't want to support it, I've never had that experience, but it would make me question whether that's the right person to be with, right? Like
Yeah.
it's rare that I think that people are so passionate about something that they want to devote their entire life to it. And if
Mm.
someone is, I can't. It would be hard to imagine a situation where you're in love and that doesn't become,
The
um, you
priority.
know, it doesn't even have to be the priority of the relationship, but a priority. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so yeah, that's a long-winded way of kind of not answering that question. But I think mutual support, honesty, trust, all of those things have to go into it, and just never taking for granted what the other person is doing for you. And that's been so satisfying for me this year, professionalizing with running and having a career, is that my wife has been supporting my lifestyle for 7 years. And now that I'm making money from running and I actually have a career, we want to have kids. It's going to allow us to do that much easier. And, being able to pay that back to her is probably the most rewarding part of all of this.
Sure. No, thanks for sharing that. And last thing, what will you say to people who are like kind of my place? That I'm starting this life of ultra running, someone that is starting their life, I don't know, into politicians, into, I don't know, some other career. Because right now, for example, the main is not an issue, but normally what a relationship gets is, for example, right now is like my mother-in-law, my father-in-law is telling me, "Oh, Luis, I mean, you're running that much, and for example, the next year I'm gonna do 7.5 Ironmans in 7 straight days." And they go like, "Luis, how are you managing to do that? I mean, that's bad for your knees, that's bad for your health." My fiance, for example, she's telling me, "Luis, why run that much? I mean, I support you, but I mean, there's no the need to it." How would you, I don't know, approach to that idea, and what would you say to someone that is getting into a really, I don't know, busy life, quote unquote busy life, to, I don't know, their certain career, with their partners telling them, "Hey, that's too much, take it easy."
I mean, my kind of tongue-in-cheek, jokey response would be like, "Listen, I've got an addictive personality, and what am I going to throw that into? It's better running than heroin, right?" Um,
Yeah.
so there's like kind of a jokey answer that has some, I think, real truth to it, but also it's just like this is what I feel like I need to do. You know what I
Okay.
mean? And I don't, like I was talking about with, like, the no options and discipline is freedom. It's like I don't really feel like if I was doing something different, I would not be me, right? And I want to be me.
Sure.
And if this is what you need to do to feel like you're yourself, then that's seems important. Like on the face of it, that doesn't seem to need a justification.
Yeah. Okay. No, thanks for sharing that, man. And it's really good having you here. Sorry if we cross the line, I don't know, with some questions, but I mean,
No, not at all.
yeah, we didn't like to get into that much into the running questioning, because I know that running is basically everything that you breathe right now. So maybe this took a little bit of your attention, or maybe the pressure for. It's been really, really nice having you here, man. I don't know if you want to give your socials so people can look to your website, to your Instagram, to, I don't know.
Sure, yeah, yeah. And yeah, thanks for having me. No lines crossed. And I mean, I enjoy talking about something different than, I've done a lot of podcasts at this point, so inevitably I'll end up repeating myself a little bit. But
Mm.
no, this was all new and really interesting questions. So I appreciate your insightfulness and thoughtfulness in approaching this conversation. So yeah, it was just a lot of fun. Um, but my socials are, I have an Instagram. I'm Run Tough Mindset on Instagram. Same thing with my Substack. That's my blog. I'll have a documentary coming out about the Triple Crown next year.
Yeah.
It's going to be called Forged in Failure, and that will probably be coming out in March. There will be a trailer ready next week. I'm going on, I don't know if you know who Cam Haynes is, but I'm going on his podcast
Uh-huh.
December 18th, and the trailer will debut then. So look out for that. And yeah, other than that, I mean, just if you follow me, you'll get some running content and some other random shit that comes to my mind. But
Yeah, no,
hopefully, it's
hey, everybody.
mostly entertaining.
Yeah, everybody go to follow Kilian. I mean, his content brings really, really good value. I mean, not just only into the running, you just listen about it. I mean, how to approach failure, how to stick to the process, not only the outcome, and all this type of, mindfulness that he has, sticking to Seneca, sticking to Marco Aurelio and all that I have to finish that book. I just started it yesterday. So yeah, I mean, I have it right there. And yeah, I mean, thanks for listening to another episode of the podcast, O Cambias o Te Chingas, or you change or you fuck off, because you know that that's how life is going to treat you if you don't change. So remember to subscribe to our channel in YouTube, into Spotify as well. And if you would like us to, I don't know, have another topic with, I don't know, another podcast, please let us know right here. Kilian, thank you very much again for having you here, for coming to the podcast and having the time with us. I really appreciate that. Have a wonderful man.
Thank you, Luis. Thanks for having me. Have a good rest of the day.
Bye bye.